If you haven't heard about Anchor yet, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free and there's no charge. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more music apps.
You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'll ever need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started on your podcast today.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Early Morning PJ Podcast via Zoom this week. We are coming off a 2-episode week. We did an episode on Friday, just Jacob and I. But we're glad that we can have Jason back this week or today for this special Father's Day episode. Obviously, there's been some huge basketball news with the Brooklyn Nets being eliminated last night. Milwaukee Bucks beating them in 7 games. And then another Game 7 tonight between the Sixers and the Hawks. And we'll get into that because on Friday's episode, we talked about Game 6 a little bit. The Sixers were able to win in Atlanta in Game 6 and force a Game 7 in Philly tonight. So we'll discuss that as well. And anything else you guys want to touch on this week?
Not really. I mean, basketball and the Sixers, I guess, will be most of our conversation.
Yeah, right.
Don't the Suns play today too?
What's that?
Don't the Suns and
Yeah, that's
the Suns and the Clippers series. That's the Western Conference Finals. Game 1 is coming up here today at 3:30. So that'll start the Western Conference Finals, and then
go Suns.
Obviously the Eastern Conference Finals will be the Bucks versus whoever wins tonight between the Sixers and Hawks. And I believe that series is going to start on Wednesday. Is going to be Game 1. So, with that being said, let's kind of get into let's start with the Nets being eliminated. I just kind of want to say this. I called it in terms of injuries. I told you guys from the beginning when they acquired James Harden that they were rarely going to ever be healthy at the same time. And that's what ended up happening. Kyrie with an ankle injury missed games 6 and 7, and that proved to be a huge key asset missing. And then with obviously James Harden playing on essentially one hamstring. But look, guys, like I told you guys from the beginning that they were not going to be healthy. And you guys said, no, they'll be healthy in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I was right. So I did say that. I said that 1,000 times.
No, I didn't disagree with you. Like
I said it 1,000 times. I mean, everybody at school, especially Jacob, that 4th period study hall, I still remember having those.
The catalyst for this whole podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I still remember having those conversations. About the Nets and how they're gonna, quote unquote, from a lot of people's opinions, they're going to be healthy in the playoffs. That wasn't true, and it cost them. And I don't really know how you can fix that. There's really nothing more. There's no more talent that I think you can go out and get. Like, you have 3 of the best basketball players of all time on your roster. And it comes down to health. It comes down to injuries. And those 3 guys alone are very injury prone. But this series, obviously, Kyrie was out and Harden was playing hurt. So, I don't know. You guys, I'll let you guys talk about it. But I'm just going to say I told you guys.
I feel like a majority of the teams in the playoffs had some type
there were
of
a lot
injuries.
more. I mean, you look at the Clippers with Kawhi. I mean, Jamal Murray tearing his ACL, which was a regular season injury, but even still.
There were a lot of injuries. You guys are right. You're right. But, I mean, that doesn't take away from the fact that the Nets, they struggle to stay healthy, and it cost them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Nets going forward is run it back with the same roster and pray that your guys stay healthy. I mean,
Yep. I mean, that's really all they can do with their cap space, because they're paying those guys a whole lot of money between those three guys alone. And then they obviously, with the acquisition of Blake Griffin, he's taking up some cap.
He was their second best player last night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, on both sides of the floor. He fouled out. He fouled out early in overtime.
I mean, Harden did not have a good game at all. That was pretty much Kevin Durant, and went to overtime. But I mean, the Bucks roster was complete and healthy, and they just outmatched Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant only in overtime.
And here, I'll say this: the Bucks beat them. They had a really, really good game plan going into last night's game. Following Game 6, they kind of knew that KD was going to be the Nets' only player. So they defended everybody else, essentially. They put Giannis on Harden to take Harden out of the game. They put PJ Tucker, who is a fairly good defender, on Kevin Durant. And, I mean, he gave Kevin Durant a good look, but Kevin Durant is going to get his. But their game plan was solid. I thought they played very, very good defense, holding the Nets to one bucket in overtime. That's kind of I mean, they only scored, 111 points, and they scored one bucket. They had 2 points in overtime. So I thought they did a very good job defensively in terms of making Kevin Durant their only player. Kevin Durant can't score 100 points himself. He had 45, I think, last night, and it wasn't enough because those other guys, the guys around him, they weren't helping him. They weren't giving him too much help. So it's
if he wore a smaller size shoe, the shoes would have been theirs.
Well, I guess
his foot was on the line.
Yeah, his foot was on the line both times. Even the shot in overtime when he airballed it, that was still a 2 because his foot were on the line. But and it's their game plan. The Bucks' game plan last night is similar to what I see the Sixers doing tonight with Trae Young. If the Sixers are able to isolate Trae Young and force him to be their only player, I think the Sixers probably win that game. If they're able to take away Trae Young's other options like Gallinari and Bogdanovich and Kevin Huerter, I see the Sixers coming out on top. If they're not, if they allow Trae Young to become a facilitator as well as a scorer, I see the Hawks kind of getting past him. So it's going to determine, I mean, the game plan is going to, I anticipate the defensive game plan to be a lot like it was in the second half of Game 6. If you guys watched Game 6, you would know that the Sixers played extremely well on the defensive side of the ball in the second half in Game 6. So I anticipate, especially in the third quarter, coming out of halftime, the Hawks had one bucket through 7 minutes in the third quarter. So I anticipate that kind of being the same. So, yeah, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on tonight's game?
I have a question. Do you think Maxey is going to start?
Do I think he's going to start? No. Do I think he should start? Yes. I think the starting lineup I think Simmons and Maxey should start. I think the starting lineup should be Maxey, Simmons, Embiid, and then obviously Curry and Tobias Harris. But here's my thoughts on that whole thing. If they start Maxey is able to bring the ball up the floor, and he's able to play solid defense on Trae Young, which would allow Ben Simmons, or switch that, you have a ball handler on the floor in Maxey, and you're able to keep Simmons on the floor for the defensive part of the game. And that played a huge role in Game 6 late in the game. The ability to have Maxey and Simmons on the floor together, you're getting essentially the same ball handler, essentially the same player on the offensive side of the floor. And I think, in my opinion, Maxey is a better scorer than Simmons. I think we can all agree with that.
You get the ability to hit more than 32.8% of your free throws.
Yeah, exactly. And they're forced to have to foul Maxey instead of Simmons.
Yeah, because if you foul
So-
Simmons, that's an intentional foul.
Yeah, and I mean that played a huge role in Game 6. I definitely feel like Maxey provided a huge, much needed spark off the bench, and he came in and 16 points off the bench. He was able to knock down some key free throws, and they were able to keep Ben Simmons on the floor for the defensive side of the game. I thought that played a huge role. And Korkmaz is a good bench player, but he should not be in the starting lineup in Game 7.
I really think that the Sixers should do more of what the Nuggets did. I think they should get the ball Embiid in the post and, run Harris and run Simmons, who are really good finishers, off cuts.
Yeah.
And, have Curry running around on the perimeter, coming off screens. So Embiid has the option to score himself, dump it off to Simmons on a cut, or, toss it out to Curry for what is
exactly
one of the highest percentage shots on that Sixers roster.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's what I've been thinking this whole series. I can't believe they haven't done more of that. Getting the ball to Embiid in the post and letting him either go to work on Clint Capella, which, I mean, come on, I'm taking Embiid in that matchup, or he has the ability to find a cutter in Harris or Simmons. And obviously Curry is shooting the lights out right now from 3.
And he's no Jokic in terms of passing ability, but he's definitely capable of finding an open man when he
exactly. And this is what I'm going to say this right now. If Embiid can get better at finding the open man, if he can become a better passer, he will go down as one of the best big men of all time. He will be better than Jokic. And I mean, Embiid is being doubled every possession, which is like what you have to do against him, because he will feast on guys like Clint Capella. So you have to double him. If you double him, that means there's a guy open. And Embiid sometimes struggles when it comes to finding that open guy, and he forces a lot of turnovers. So if he can get better at doing that, I don't see why he won't go down as one of the best big men of all time, and he'll probably win a couple MVPs along the way.
I mean, there's also the issue of Ben Simmons just standing near the rim, clogging the lane for Embiid, because he really can't be anywhere else.
Well, or he could just if you watched Game 6, especially in the second half, when Maxey and Simmons were on the floor together, Simmons spent a lot of time at the along the perimeter because of that reason. Because they made an adjustment and they knew they wanted to get the ball to Embiid in the post, and Simmons isn't like the best scorer on the roster. He's out there for defensive purposes. So why would you even give him the ball and get him the chance? Especially in crunch time, they did this. They put Simmons along the perimeter, and he rarely even touched the ball, because every time he touches the ball, they foul him. So I thought that was a very good move by Doc Rivers. And I mean, Simmons, I don't know if you guys saw Shaquille O'Neal last night get into Simmons a little bit on the TNT show that they do. He looked straight in the camera and told Ben Simmons, "You need to man up." And that's exactly what Simmons' mentality needs to be tonight.
Yeah, when you're guarded by Bogdanovic and you're supposed to be some elite slasher.
But it's not. He doesn't have a choice. If he touches the ball, they will foul him. And I mean, you have to be able to knock down free throws, and that's what it comes down to. Jacob, that's what we spoke about on Friday. If he was able to hit free throws, he would be averaging 20 points per game. As much as he gets fouled, I don't know. I really don't know. And I mean, we'll see tonight how they game plan around Ben, meaning the Sixers, if they bring out Maxey off the bench early, or even if he starts. I would like to see him in the starting lineup, but that's just my preference. But yeah, we'll see. And I don't know if we touched upon this at all, guys, especially Jacob on Friday. Chris Paul missing. He is out for tonight, I believe. He's officially ruled out for COVID protocols. So That's big news.
if I'm being honest, if I'm the Suns, I'll take a Kawhi and Chris Paul being out swap, but Chris Paul's still a huge loss.
Did you guys know why he's out?
No, I don't.
Because he went into the stands after they swept the Nuggets. He went into the stands to hug his mom, and they suspended him for it.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but in the regular season, LeBron went to a couple parties in Toronto when they were in Toronto for a road trip or whatever. He went to a couple parties with Drake, and nothing happened. He was fined maybe a couple $100, but he wasn't suspended. And this is the playoffs. I don't know. That's crazy.
I'm not like a scientist, but I don't know why they just don't test him, or if he's vaccinated, just let him play.
He's hugging his mom, and I don't know. That's ridiculous. I guess the only way to hug your mom without getting in trouble is Kevin Durant last night hugged his mom because she was sitting courtside. And in the Nuggets, because the Suns beat the Nuggets in Denver in Game 4, and their stands are set up differently. They have the courtside seats blocked off, and he had to go into the stands to hug his mom, and he gets suspended. I don't know. It's crazy to me.
Any predictions for tonight for the Clippers Suns game?
I'm gonna give this game to the Suns. I think they play extremely well at home, and I'm gonna take the Suns in Game 1. I think it's gonna be a very good series.
I'm gonna take the Clippers, but I think the Suns win the series.
I think the Suns win the series too. It's gonna be the Suns are gonna be in the finals. I think.
I also think the Suns are capable of guarding Terrence Mann better than the Jazz.
Terrence Mann isn't going to go for 40 every night. He's a bench player, I think.
I don't know if
he's
he's
the bench and dropped
game,
40.
but yeah.
He might have started in
I think he did start because Kawhi's out.
Yeah.
But normally I think he is a bench player.
Yeah, he's not dropping 40 every night. I don't really worry about him too much if I'm the Suns, but I kind of worry about the absence of Chris Paul. But just like you said, Jacob, I think it kind of evens out with the absence of Kawhi. I still think the Suns have a more talented roster than the Clippers.
I got Suns in 5.
Nah, not in 5. I'll take 6 or 7. 6 or 7. The Clippers probably won't lose a game at home. So I'll say 7 games.
Is there a timetable on Kawhi? Is he out for the whole series? I haven't heard anything.
I don't think he's out for the whole series. I could be wrong about that, but I'm assuming this is the Western Conference Finals. He'll probably play.
Yeah, but if you're injured, you're injured.
No, he's not that hurt. He's not gonna miss the rest of the season. You want to talk about injuries? A huge injury to Danny Green, huge blow to the Sixers. Out 2 to 3 weeks with a calf strain. We talked about that a little bit, Jacob, on Friday, but it's played huge throughout this series. I didn't really think they were going to be missing him all too much because he's a good, corner
guy.
He's a good 3-point shooter, average, maybe above average defender. But I didn't think they were going to be missing him as much as they are now because they can't seem to find that 5th starter. We'll see. We can do a little matchup prediction, guys, if you guys want, between the Hawks and Sixers versus the Bucks. We'll start with the Hawks. I was thinking about this a little bit last night. I feel like the Bucks have a better roster and a better starting 5 than the Hawks do. Obviously. But I think the Bucks would win that series.
I'll take I've been hating on the Hawks this whole time, but I will take the Bucks in 5. And that's mostly because Trae Young's assumed matchup would be Drew Holiday, who's an all-defensive guy. And if you watched Kevin Durant's shot in overtime, Drew Holiday was able to get up in Kevin Durant, 6'10" Kevin Durant's grill enough to make him airball a game-winning or game-tying shot. So
Yeah, I think the Sixers kind of match up better than the Hawks against the Bucks. So I don't know. I'm really, really hoping we can get the job done tonight.
I don't really know who would guard Embiid on the Bucks.
I feel like the Bucks aren't very deep. They're only like
No, they ran with an 8-man lineup last night.
Yeah,
eight guys
both
played.
both teams cut their rotation last night.
Yeah. Well, it's game 7 and that's anticipated. But still, just like they're not very deep, just like Jason said. They are really not deep. I mean, if you look at their bench, the only guys that are really threats are Pat Connaughton, and I mean that's about it. I guess Bryn Forbes. Bryn Forbes is a decent 3-point shooter, but I mean the only 3 guys that played off the bench last night for the Bucks were Connaughton, Antetokounmpo's brother, and then he played 1 minute, and Bryn Forbes. So I don't know. I think the Sixers have a deeper roster than the Bucks do. I think I would anticipate, like, if the Sixers are able to get past the Hawks tonight, I would anticipate Giannis guarding Embiid.
I would like to see that, but I highly doubt that'll actually happen.
I don't think so.
I think Embiid. Well, here's my thoughts on that. Who guards Giannis on the Sixers, Simmons or Embiid?
Simmons.
I don't know, bro. Like, you have Middleton, which would probably be Tobias Harris, or
I don't think Embiid is at all quick enough to guard Giannis. I mean, Giannis is gonna.
I think Simmons will guard him at the top, but
probably Giannis is doing to Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin is much quicker than Embiid.
He wasn't getting around him. He was just bullying him. He was straight up bullying him.
I feel
he was getting in the paint and he was bullying him. And I think, Simmons is quicker than Embiid, but once they get into the paint, Giannis will probably eat Simmons alive because he's just bigger. He's just bigger.
I would put probably Simmons on Giannis. I would put Harris on Middleton, and I would put Thibault on Drew Holiday.
That's what I was thinking. Or it depends on the starting lineup, because it's going to vary from series to series. Tonight against the Hawks, you might want Maxey, who's more of a scorer, or you might want, like, in the next series, if they're able to win tonight and they play the Bucks in the next series, you kind of need an extra defender on the floor rather than a scorer.
I would let Embiid kind of roam the paint, guard PJ Tucker or Brook Lopez.
Well, it's going to be Brook Lopez.
Yeah, whoever they have in at the 5. I'd let Embiid kind of roam the paint and step up to contest Chris Middleton in the mid-range and floater game, and, try and help protect the rim against Giannis and whatever the Bucks try to do.
I think PJ Tucker's not all of that big of a threat.
He'll hit his open shots, but
yeah. So the worst defender on the floor for the Sixers, whoever the starters are, Curry could guard Drew Holiday, because
I don't know about that. I wouldn't do that.
Okay, well then,
Curry can guard Drew Holiday.
Bro.
Drew Holiday, he has not been shooting well.
He hasn't been playing well at all.
He turned it on in overtime, but before that, he was like.
No, I know. He didn't have a good game. Yeah.
He hasn't had a good playoffs.
He's one of the main facilitators for that offense. If he beats Curry off the dribble, he's going to find an open man.
Who guards Holiday then? Maxey?
Thibault when he's in the game, and I guess Maxey.
All right, whatever. Thibault, you can't waste a defender like Thibault on Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Who are you going to put him on?
You could put him on
Chris Middleton.
No, because I want Harris on Middleton.
Thibault
is a good defender.
Thibault, when is Thibault in the rotation? Who comes out?
Harris.
Right. Harris comes out.
We're saying if Thibault starts.
Oh. Well, I mean, I don't think he's gonna.
I don't know.
So let's say Maxey starts tonight, right? Let's say he starts tonight, and let's say they stick with that same starting five, game one versus the Bucks. I would put Maxey on Drew Holiday, and then you got Simmons on Giannis, Embiid on Brook Lopez, Harris on Middleton, and Curry on PJ Tucker. But then you're giving up a size advantage on PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker is just bigger than Curry. So I don't know, guys. We'll see. Game 7 tonight, obviously.
This is if the Sixers
win, yeah. And we talked about the Hawks too, so I'm not trying to exclude the Hawks out of here, but the Sixers, they need to get the job done tonight. They're at home, Game 7. Wells Fargo Center is about to be rocking. I think I'm having a couple people over here. I'll be, screaming obviously at the TV.
Yeah, I'm going to the game.
I wish I was going to the game. I was trying to find tickets, but it comes down to heart and intensity. Whoever comes out with the most intensity is going to win. Jacob, we spoke about this on Friday. Games, Game 5 and 6 when the Sixers blew leads. Huge leads blown because the Hawks came out in the second half with more intensity. They wanted it more. And if you look at every Sixers game, except for Game 1, every game that the Sixers have played at home in this series, they've had a double-digit lead, and they've blown it. They've blown it. They blew Game 6, and the series should be over right now. They blew an 18-point lead in Game 5 in Atlanta.
The Sixers are just straight up the better team. If you look pound for pound, there's no questions asked. But yeah, the Hawks have been fighters this series, and
I messed up. They blew a lead in Game 5, not Game 6.
I thought the Hawks have also done a good job game planning as well.
I don't know, bro. I don't know how this is going to play out tonight. I really don't, because I don't feel safe with any lead at this point. The Sixers could be up 30, and I wouldn't trust them. They just blew a 26-point lead at home 4 nights ago. So I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. The Hawks came out on Friday, Game 6. The Hawks came out guns blazing, and they went up like 12 or 13, and the Sixers had to fight and claw their way back, and they won that game actually. So we'll see what happens tonight. Any final thoughts on Game 7, guys?
Let's go Hawks.
Sixers in 7, baby.
We'll see, bro. We'll see. That would be huge if they're able to win tonight. I know Milwaukee's waiting to get their chance, so we'll see.
Payton, how are the Phillies doing?
They're all right, bro. They're at 500 right now. They won a game last night in San Francisco, who is currently like the hottest team in the major leagues right now. They were able to steal a game from them to get back to 500. They're in second place in the NL East, 4 games behind the Mets, but they play the Mets next week, like this coming week. They play them in like a 4 or 5 game series. So they got a chance to make up some ground.
The All-Star break coming up?
I'm not sure when the All-Star break is. I'm pretty sure it's in July at some point.
Doesn't matter. There'll be no one on the Marlins in that game. We're horrible. But
I did see the Shohei Ohtani is putting his name in the home run derby. Yeah. Nice. That's crazy, guys. You're talking about a guy he's doing unheard of things, pitching and hitting. That's just, that's unheard of in baseball, and especially in the major leagues. But a guy that he's second in the league in home runs with like 22 home runs, I think, on the season. And he's lighting up the league right now. Him and Tatis are the two faces of the game right now, and they're excited to watch.
DeGrom. Don't disrespect my boy Jacob DeGrom.
Well, DeGrom's always been.
Yeah.
He's always been like that. But in terms of like the younger faces of the league, Tatis and Ohtani, those guys are going to be around for a long time. So yeah, I just went to I just went to a Senators game last night. They were playing the Reading Fighting Phils.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
What's that?
Thanks for the invite.
Hey, bro, I was there with it was an early Father's Day gift for my dad, but it was a good time, and I think that I got to see a couple of the Phillies prospects. Bryson Stott. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's been talked about a lot in terms of like moving him up to either AAA or to the big club. He's one of those guys. He plays shortstop for the Fighting Phils, but he's one of those like guys that can play anywhere. There was a lot of talk about him coming and playing center field when the center field position was kind of up in the air. It seems like Odubel Herrera has kind of taken over that spot though. And
did you see Rhett? Rhett.
Yeah,
Watson?
yeah, he was there. Yep, he played last night. Is he supposed to be like one of the Phillies' top guys?
All I know is that he's like, I think he's center field or outfield or something.
He's not. He did not play center field last night. He played left.
Hey, they could get me in there to play center field. I wouldn't hit a ball, but I think I'd be pretty decent on defense. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw a walk-off
Listen,
home run
I'll do
actually.
it.
There's a walk-off home run last
Really?
night.
I'll
that
do
ended
it
the
for
game.
like-
Yeah, it was crazy.
I'll do it for like $30K. That's all they got to give me. I don't really need more than that.
The Senators, they were down 2-0 the whole game. Well, it was 0-0 for a long time, and I think the Fighting Phils scored 2 runs off of a 2-run home run. I think it was in the 7th, and then the Senators came up in the 8th and scored a run to make it 2-1, and then they scored another run in the 9th to tie the game 2-2, and they played extra innings, and the
Did they do it in the minors where they put a runner on
yeah,
second?
put a runner on second, yeah. And so what happened actually was the Fighting Phils had 2 quick outs, and then Bryson Stott came up, and there was a runner on second, obviously, 2 outs. Bryson Stott came up and hit a ground ball in the hole between first and second, and the first baseman for the Senators made a really nice play, backhanded it in the hole, and he couldn't get the ball out of his glove. He took off his whole glove and threw his whole glove to the pitcher, who went over and covered first. And Bryson Stott beat it out for an infield hit, and the runner rounded third and went home on the play. And, I mean, they had no play because the friggin' pitcher had to catch like a whole glove from the first baseman, so there was no play. So the Fighting Phils went up 3-2. Senators came up in the last inning, and I forget. I think they had a quick out. There was 1 out. The runner on second. The guy comes up and hits a shot to right field, and I thought it was gone. I thought it went over the fence, but it hit the base of the wall, and the guy on second scored. But the guy that hit the ball was he was watching it. He was watching the ball because he thought it was gone. It was either fair or it was gone. Like, it was just one of those kind of plays, and it ended up being fair and hitting the fence, like hitting like the middle part of the fence. And the guy was watching the ball, so he only ended up with a single, an RBI single to tie the game. And then the Senators, the next guy up was their leadoff guy, their center fielder, came up and hit a 2-run walk-off home run to the always cheap seats.
That's
So
fun.
it was a good game. I don't really know anybody from the
Playing.
Senators. What's that?
You can't complain.
Nope. I don't really know anybody from the Senators like that's like really, really good, or like they're on the verge of being called up or whatever. But I did know a few names on the Phillies just because of like spring training and stuff like that.
When I was younger, I bought tickets to a Senators game, and we were walking in the park, and we were driving across the river, and it was packed. And it turned out to be Bryce Harper's first game for the Senators. And we had to park on the other side of the river. It was so crowded. But that was probably like the most people I've ever seen in that stadium.
Yeah, it gets packed even just for one guy. Even just for one guy from the minors. Like, even if it's the team they're playing against, if there's a guy that's being like designated for an assignment or whatever, and he's in town, that place gets packed. I know I saw Bryce Harper play at least 2 or 3 times, and every single time I went, it was packed. I got to see Strasburg. I got to see.
Yeah, I saw Strasburg too.
I got to see Ryan Zimmerman, the first baseman for a long time for the Nationals. He's still with the Nationals.
I saw
got to see him.
Galvis play.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I thought last night that we were going, and I saw Vlad Guerrero Jr. That game was packed when he was there, Guerrero Jr. But I thought Didi was in Double-A for some reason, but it turns out he was in Triple-A last night for an assignment. But he actually got hurt. He re-injured himself in Triple-A, so he's out for a couple more weeks. But Phillies are hanging in there, man. They won a couple games in a row this past week to get themselves back to 500. So they're hanging in there, and as long as they can keep doing what they're doing and staying afloat while these guys get healthy and they're able to come back.
Back to the NBA, I just wanted to bring this up. I saw something about the Thunder. They're, I believe, able to have the number 4 pick, the number 5 pick, number 10, number 16, and number 18, I believe. All those picks. If the Houston Rockets,
they're very, very much in the process of rebuilding. And they're doing, I don't know, like if you guys have realized this yet, but the Thunder have been like kind of like the carousel of players. So, I mean, let's say like Kemba Walker goes to Oklahoma City next year and he's able to find a rhythm. He's able to play consistently.
He is not playing a lot.
Yeah, he's not playing well at all. And well, let's say he succeeds in Oklahoma City. He's able to find a rhythm again. He's able to play like more consistently. I think he'll get traded. He'll get dealt again by the end of next year for another pick, because that's just like kind of what the Thunder seem to be doing right now.
Yeah,
and Kemba Walker is aging. I mean, he's probably in his 30s. I'm not really sure how old he is, but
cardiac Kemba.
Yeah, I think he's either in his high 20s.
No, he's like 32, 33.
Yeah, or he's in his 30s.
You remember when he did that step back on Pitt?
It's Pitt, yep.
You remember that?
UConn.
Yeah, that was in the Big Ten. Was that in the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah.
Yep. I used to be a huge Pitt basketball fan when they were good. I watch them still, but they're just not who they used to be. I'm not like a bandwagon or anything. They never really won a national championship. But all right, guys, that wraps up this week's episode. This special Father's Day special, if you will. So we'll see you guys next week, and go Sixers.
Happy Father's Day to Ben Simmons' father. Free throws.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, especially Mr. Weaver, Mr. Scholl, and of course,
Mr. Warner.
Yeah, Big T.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.